Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Pink Fresh Studios. This is the Interlaced Diamonds, the Basic Sentiments, and then this is the Thinking of You suite. I'm also using the Holiday Greetings, Delicate Foliage, and what is that one? Joyful. I'll link it below. You know I will. So we're going to be doing a lot of stenciling, and we're going to be creating 2 cards. Now, if you watched my channel recently, I told you that I had one video left that had a Christmas card in it, but this is kind of like, it's 2 cards, but only one is holiday, and it's really just to show you kind of how you can use different products to create different looks, and then have them fit a theme of your card just by swapping out the sentiments. So lots of stenciling going to be going on here. I'm doing, all of my dimensional shading and everything with my stenciling for this one, which gives us a really nice soft color family to work with. I do want to note this is the chit chatty one. This one will include story time. If you are a person who does not enjoy story time and you just want the instruction, that you would find over on the Pink Fresh channel, which will be linked below if you're watching on YouTube. So basically, Pink Fresh makes it nice and easy. They have these the ink cubes that are put together in a family, so it's really easy to know which ones are going to work together to kind of add more dimension and deepen up your color. And that is how I bought all of my inks. All of my inks are just the cubes. I think the only ones I have in a full size are their black ink and their white. So this one here, I wanted to do some gold heat embossing because that's one of the ways that you could help make everyday stamps feel a little bit more like holiday. So I did make sure that they were dry beforehand. This is me putting the embossing powder on without any stamping to just double check that everything is going to be good. Now, I will be honest with you, I don't mind when there is like little specks of gold, maybe where you wouldn't necessarily expect it. So I do dry mine, but if there's some areas that like it sticks to, I'm not mad about it. I think it adds character. So I did treat it with my anti-static tool, and then I'm going in with a gold pigment ink to stamp them down. I typically do stamp them twice. Now, you may want to just stop here. You could just use that pigment ink and it will remain kind of nice and soft and have a faint metallic finish, but I really like kind of bold in your face shimmer. So I'm going to stamp mine twice, and then I'm going to add gold embossing powder right over the top of that and then melt that down. So story time. I did tell you guys about Christmas. Well, I think I told you more about Christmas Eve and how I waited until the bitter end to wrap my stuff and set off my fire alarm. So Christmas Day, because I do have to split, Peanut came home, early in the morning, so he did Christmas with his dad and then came to us. We opened gifts with our family and then went to my parents' house, and then proceeded to do what was really more of a brunch. I mean, it was breakfast food, but it was like noon. So we did brunch and then we opened gifts there, and then everybody kind of went home for nappies, and to take their things home if they had a vehicle that was appropriate. Caitlin is still little enough that she's napping, so Eric brought her home, and then Peanut and I came after the fact, and then I went back a little early to help get dinner started, and then we do dinner together. So it was a full day. I was very tired, but it was a good day. Very, very grateful for a wonderful Christmas. Because leading up to Christmas was a little bit chaotic. So that's what story time is going to be about today. So again, we have to go back in time. Um, we have to go back in time to probably like October, maybe a little before that. So I started on a new medication for my anxiety, and they told me when when I started on this new medication that it would make me kind of crave carbs. And so, I was going to need to watch that in order to avoid any weight gain. I am, as you guys know, very transparent. So when I was in my 20s and I got pregnant with my son, I was pretty consistently from the time that I was in high school, I was a $120. That's the way the Lord made me. I take after my grandfather. I'm just a long person, long arms, long legs, kind of very lean. And I have been my whole life. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm healthy. Don't confuse that. Just because I'm on the thinner side does not mean that I am healthy per se. It just means I have a high metabolism. So then after I had Nathan, I was the heaviest that I had ever been. Obviously, I had taken 10 months to grow a human being. So once I got clearance from my doctor, just to be clear, once I got clearance from my doctor, then I started working out, changing my diet to, lose some weight. I knew that the chances of me ever getting back down to my like pre-baby weight were probably pretty slim. And that didn't bother me. I just wanted to be at a place where I was comfortable with myself. And for me, that was about 130. And so I was pretty much that, right around there. I did have some happy fat. That's what I call it. Like when you get into a new relationship and you're real happy and you guys are like hanging out and eating snacks and going to dinners and all that stuff. Like when Eric and I got together, I got some happy fat. So he and I did do, what did we do? 21 Day Fix, I think, before we went on vacation one year. But for the most part, I've been right around 130 since the birth of my first child. Now, then after I had Jelly Bean, the weight, well, I mean, I guess I was like another 10 pounds. So after her, and I did like go through and work out, not as much as I did, like before with Nathan, I was really committed. Like I work night shift and I'd get off work at 7:30 in the morning. I'd come home, grab a snack, change my clothes, and then whatever the 9 o'clock class was at the rec center, my butt was in it. Didn't matter what it was. Zumba, Tabata, a HIIT workout. I mean, I was doing it. I was doing it all. Whatever was in that 9 a.m. slot. And this time, because obviously I was working from home, that was not what I did. We were still a little bit doing the stuff in the garage, so that kind of helped. But anyway, so now fast forward to my regular weight's now around 140-ish, which I'm 5'6", so that's still within a acceptable range. So I noticed that I was starting to really put on some weight, like quite a bit. And then with the addition of the weight, I also started experiencing like where my tummy was really bloated. And not everybody is going to understand what I'm saying here because not everybody has carried a child. But when you are pregnant in your first trimester, like a lot of us experience pretty severe bloating, where you're not showing yet, but you are wicked uncomfortable because your belly is like firm and full and it's just really, really uncomfortable. So I had kind of that kind of bloating going on. No, I am not having another baby. That's not the situation. Don't even go there, grandmas. And so I had heartburn and indigestion. I was also experiencing like a metallic kind of taste in my mouth. And so like there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of things that were going on that it was like, oof. Plus I'm gaining weight, and I'm gaining it pretty quickly. So by the time I made a doctor's appointment, which was the straw that broke the camel's back, was like one night I woke up in the middle of the night, like out of a dead sleep at like 4 o'clock in the morning because I was going to be sick. And then after that, I was fine. I was able to go back to sleep, but I was like, okay, clearly something is wrong because you generally don't just, get sick in the middle of the night. But I weighed myself before I went to the doctor. This was on Friday. I weighed myself. I was 160, which I have not been that heavy since I had my kids. Now, I'm just speaking for myself, not for anybody else. Everybody's built different and all bodies are beautiful. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just explaining to you what's going on in my head. And by the time I got to the doctor's office on Monday, so you're talking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days, I was 165. I gained 5 pounds in 3 days. Like, something was not right. So in addition to this, I noticed it like when I was looking in the mirror, but sometimes like you see yourself every day. So sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. My face looked fuller, like swollen. Like the best way I could describe it is like I was never fully awake. Like I always looked sleepy. And then when we took the kids to do Santa, one of the candid photos that we took was of us all together as a family. And, the camera don't lie, y'all. As soon as I saw that picture, I was like, oh, something. Yeah, like something is wrong. I do not look like myself. So I go to the doctor. I tell them all of the things that are going on. First things first, they have me, do a urine sample so that we can definitely test that there's not another Taylor on the way. There is not. So then she's like, okay, I'm going to send you downstairs to the lab to do blood work and to do urinalysis just to see what's going on. And then if we need to, refer you to like a gastroenterologist, we can. I was like, okay, cool. So I go down, the lab's right downstairs, and it's not even like you have to register beforehand, but then, go over, and it's 3 o'clock. They close at 3:30. And, I go in there, she does my blood, which I have a fear of needles, but as long as I don't see the needle, I'm usually okay, and that nurse was wonderful. We had no issues. But then here was the problem. I could not do the urinalysis because I had just done the pregnancy test upstairs, and I had not had anything to drink to begin with. So, but they give me the cup, and they're like, just take it home. You can bring it back and drop it off, tomorrow, whatever. And I was like, I don't want to come back tomorrow. So what I did was I just went back to my car and I had my water in there. I drank that. I waited 20 minutes and it was like 5 minutes till closing time. And I went back in and I was like, I know you guys are getting ready to close. Can I just try one more time? And they were like, yeah, sure. And thankfully that 20 minutes did the trick and we got all of the testing done. So that night, I don't know if you guys have it. Oh, here, what I'm doing here is you can see I'm going to be die cutting out all of my flowers. But I wanted to build like a little wreath. And so I'm just creating the ring that I'm going to glue them all to. So I have all of my parts done and stenciled and die cut out. Here, this is the interlaced diamonds. You can use just the die or you can use the die on the press plate. I am going to use the press plate to use just like a kind of a pale blue to add a little something into the background. And I believe this it's a pink fresh ink. What is the name of it? Mist, maybe? Not 100% positive. I'll link it below. But anyway, this is just kind of a really nice, subtle way to make your background a little bit more interesting without competing with the rest of the things that are going on in the card. So anywho, that was on a Monday. Monday? Yeah, I went to the doctor on Monday. And they have a chart that you log into that will, tell you all of your things. And so I got an email that said that my blood work and stuff was done. So of course I'm nosy. I'm the nosiest of nosy. You guys know this. So I go in and look, and there's like a couple of things, that are high or low or whatever. And then I got to my TSH, which apparently is the hormone that stimulates your thyroid to work. And normal ranges are between 4.2 and 10.1. Mine was 150. So clearly I was having a thyroid issue, which is no big shock because it's hereditary, and both Mom and Graham had thyroid issues. And come to find out, my father, which I didn't even know. So anyway, the next day, she calls me, my doctor, and she was like, hey, let's go back and talk about what we're doing here. Here, I am using my ink to create a custom color of cardstock that's going to match all of my things. If you choose to do this, please make sure that it's completely dry. You're probably going to want to leave it overnight or hit it with your heat tool before you do any of your heat embossing. Also, this background that I am showing you with the green and the gold, I did not end up using. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay. So now I still like the background. I actually have set it aside in my scrap pile. And then I've added some adhesive to this little ring, not that you'll really be able to see any of it. And then I'm going to start working my way around creating my wreath. And the wreath is actually going to be is it the non-Christmas card? No, I think it is the Christmas card. I think the wreath is the Christmas card. But regardless, any sort of leaf or floral that you have that you can cut apart, you can pretty much turn into a wreath or a different kind of arrangement than how they were intended to be used. That's why before I was on the Pink Fresh Design team, I guest designed for them a lot, and I always tried to pick the ones that had the leaves in them, because they're so versatile. So here I've just kind of created my little wreath, and I'm going to start gluing it to itself. So that way I can just move it as one whole piece without having to do much else. I was having a little bit of issue getting underneath them, so I'm going to use my tweezers to kind of hold them up so that then I can use my glue press to get underneath there and then just move on to the next one. I will make sure that I go back in afterward and make sure everything is really adhered very well. Right now, we're just trying to get through it enough that I can move them without having to completely redesign the whole wreath. Okay, so Tuesday, she calls me. And she was like, hey, I got your results back. And I was like, yeah, I saw them in the little portal. My thyroid is trashed. And she was like, yeah, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. I was like, yeah, I saw that. I was like, so what do you need me to do? And she's like, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you have to go to the emergency room. And I'm like, what? They bill that differently for insurance purposes, right? And she was like, so apparently your thyroid, when it is not working and is producing that much stimulating hormone, it can actually damage your heart. And it puts you at risk for, I am going to absolutely butcher the pronunciation. So if you are in the medical field, give me grace. myoxydemal coma. Anyway, oftentimes it's very rare, but it's frequently fatal. So she was like, you already have like the edema, which is the swelling of your extremities in your face. Like this is something that you are at risk for, and you have to go so that they can check your heart and make sure that everything is okay. So I'm like, oh, all right, I will go. So I go, I send Eric a text message. He's at work, and I'm like, hey, just give me a call when you have a second. So, here, what I'm doing there is I did the press plate with pigment inks so that then I could sprinkle on my embossing powder. That works fantastic. And now I will have like the metallic gold that's pressed in there without having to get out any foils or a glimmer machine. Just a little trick for you there. So here, this is originally how I thought my wreath was going to go, and I wasn't really loving it. The interlaced diamonds it's a great pattern, but it makes the card look a little stout. So it makes it look like it's wider than it actually is. So because of that, there's a little leaf that snuck out. So because of that, I am going to kind of change up my original design. So I do like the sentiment still. The best memories are made under the tree, but we're going to nix it. And we're going to concentrate on building a design that's going to help us look a little slimmer. So I am trimming this on the sides. Already that's going to help us to look a little bit more slender. But in order to really bump that up, I am going to add some darkness onto the sides. And just like in fashion, black is slimming or darker colors are more slimming with like a cinched waist is going to give you that like hourglass figure and make you look slimmer. We're basically, what do they call them back then? I don't even remember. I keep thinking girdle, but that's not right. What is it? The thing that we're basically going to corset our card. So, but we're going to do it with that dark green. So we're going to do the dark green strips on either side. And then I told you for a holiday card, adding a little bit of shimmer or glitter is a great way to kind of dress it up and make it look fancy. So doing the dark strips and then the glimmer is going to help us look a little bit more svelte. And then our focal point with the wreath will be the focal point instead of it feeling really kind of stocky. It will feel much longer and leaner, which allows your focal point to just shine a little bit better. So anyway, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go. Eric's like, do you want me to come home? Like, I'm in a meeting, but as soon as it's done, I'll meet you there. And I was like, no, I don't even know what's happening. Like, I do not even know what's going on. My mom was sick. I called her just to clue her in. And she was like, I was like, no, I definitely do not want you. Do not want you at the emergency room. Like, you already have a cold. Your immune system is already down. Like, you're not feeling great. You don't need to be here picking up something, maybe. So I go in. They have no idea what to do with me. He was like, what do you want? Do you want us to run labs or what? And I was like, listen, she said you have to check my heart or something. He's like, I don't even know what TSH is. I was like, I don't know. This is what she told me. Look at the lab work that I did yesterday. So they get me back there, despite the fact that they only have 2 nurses on duty. God bless them. So they get me back there. They get my information, everything else. Now, I have a therapist for my anxiety, and yeah, I tell you guys all the time I'm cheap. And the cancellation fee for that is outrageous. And I know that I have appointment. I have an appointment that day, but I have to go to the emergency room. So I'm in the ER, like, and when my phone rings for, like, they send me the little link, like, hey, it's time for your virtual. Here I am. Hello. Hello. And she's like, that doesn't look like your house. And I was like, no, I'm in the emergency room, but I'm not paying this cancellation fee. So, like, you want to talk about it? And she was like, oh my gosh, no, we'll just reschedule. But I didn't have to pay the cancellation fee. And that was really what I was after. So here, what I'm doing is I'm using that light one that we pressed, and then I'm going to tuck my flowers and leaves in there and create kind of like a diagonal design that really feels very springy. And if you haven't checked out these basic sentiments, I totally would. These are great. And then this one will just say, hello, dear friend. So doctor comes in, he tells me, like, I looked at your labs. Obviously, you have a thyroid issue. He was like, if I had it right now to give it to you intravenously, I would absolutely do that. But I don't. So we're going to do an EKG to make sure your heart's okay. And then I'll give you your options. And I'm like, okay. So they do the EKG. Praise Jesus. My heart was fine. And then he comes back in and he's like, listen, I can admit you and then we can have an endocrinologist see you. Or I can give you this prescription for the synthetic thyroid, and then, like, you'll have to go right from here directly to get this filled and start taking it immediately. And I was like, I vote for option number 2 because I don't want to be admitted. He was like, okay, but then you have to follow up with your regular doctor. So I left, I went to the drugstore, I shopped for my stocking stuffers while I was waiting for my prescription. I got it. I started taking it. 2 days later, I followed up with my regular doctor, who basically told me, like, we're just going to leave you on this amount, and in a month, we'll redo your blood work and see how we can readjust from there. But before I went, I was like, Lord, please let it be something that they can figure out quickly, and please let it be treatable. Like, I get things happen. Like, I'm just, please let it be something that is treatable. Because you guys know me, I'm super, like, I like all the research and do all the things. I'm thinking, like, stomach, colorectal cancer, like, there's all kinds of stuff people end up with, and then they catch it late because they dismiss the symptoms. And I was like, I don't want to be one of them people. But thank God, just my thyroid stopped working. So she did send me for a thyroid ultrasound, which I did right after Christmas. And so I'm waiting for the results back of that. But otherwise, I just got to stay on this forever for the rest of my life, like my mom and my gram did. So, yeah, if you have any of those symptoms, make sure that you tell your doctor so that you can get your thyroid checked. Because it may just not be operational at all, because mine sure wasn't. So now we are just finishing up putting together the last card. This one I did not pop up, but you certainly could. I chose to pop up just the sentiment, just that dear friend part of it. And because of that diagonal, it fits really nicely on the card. Because that diamond is more like a white on white kind of look, it doesn't look as stocky, which I do like. But here is another look at the card. This is the holiday one, and then the non-holiday one. I did add gemstones to both of these. One's gold pearls and one is the ocean breeze. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you are well. I wish you a happy new year, and I will see you in the next couple of days for some more videos. I will catch you on the next one. Bye.